So oftentimes we look at what India has accomplished over the years, but don't really recognize the people and the faces behind that. And so this opportunity is for me to actually bring to bear one person that I have the privilege of hosting today, Dr. Sam Pitroda. And I don't want to take too much time. I think I've used the 3 minutes, and I want to give most of the time to engage with Dr. Pitroda and questions from the audiences. So my dad's generation is very thankful to Sam for, not having to wait 7 years before they get a BSNL phone line. So for us, as we continue to see innovation happening in telecom and technologies, particularly in the smart city area, one aspect of that smart city area that I would like to specifically talk to Sam about is the smart villages, which is probably the single most biggest impact that US will have on India. So with that, I would like to say a few words about Sam, my guest of honor. Sam recently served as advisor to the Prime Minister of India on public information infrastructure and innovation. He served as the chairman of the Smart Grid Task Force and served on numerous committees, including playing roles in public broadcasting policy, modernizing railways, delivering governance, and many other development programs. Sam holds 15 honorary PhDs and has more than 100 worldwide patents. He has traveled widely and spoken very widely and coded extensively over the last 50 years, I'd like to say. So it is an absolute honor and a privilege for me to invite Dr. Sam Pitroda on the stage.
Thanks. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. It is indeed a special privilege for me to be here at University of California at this special event organized by Haas Business School and All India Management Institute. I really want to thank especially Rekha for giving me this opportunity. I want to start by reminding all of us that India has had very long history and heritage in science and technology. India was the largest economy in the world in 1760, not too long ago. Then came British Raj, colonization, and in Indian economy went from 27 or 29% to 2%. At the time of independence, India had very little institutions and infrastructure needed to build science and technology and a modern nation. Everything was robbed. Very little was left behind in terms of fabric. And we had to start from scratch. Rightfully so, our founding fathers focused on building technology institutions, IITs, IIMs, CSIR lab, agricultural research, and all kinds of new institutions, all of a sudden, in a very short span of 1 or 2 decades. It took almost 50 years to build the kind of platforms that we needed. We have had success stories in atomic energy, green revolution, space research, milk revolution, and finally, IT and telecom. In spite of all of these successes, we still have today 3 fundamental challenges. 1, disparity. Disparity between rich and poor, urban, rural, educated, uneducated, high caste, low caste, men, women, young, old, is just too much in India. And we have not been able to reduce that disparity substantially. We still have 500 million people who are below poverty line. Depends on how you look at it. We have 200 million people who go hungry in spite of the fact that we have surplus food. We also have a challenge related to demography. We have 600 million people who are below 25. We need to create 15 million new jobs every year, year after year. We need to provide education, nutrition, food, health benefits, skills, and lots of other things for these 600 million people. 3, everything is happening in India. Lots of development, but not happening at the pace we would want. Everywhere you look around in India, you need expansion, more colleges, more hospitals, more roads, more power plants, more schools, more everything. 2, we need excellence. Quality of lot of our stuff is just not there yet. Leaving aside top 5%, colleges are bad, schools are bad, water is bad, energy is not quite adequate. And 3rd is equity. We have to make sure that the poorest of the poor do get access to a lot of these services. My interactions with modern India started in 1980. After having worked for 15 years here in Telecom, I went to India and I tried to call my wife on a telephone, and I couldn't make a phone call. This was 1979. Little bit of arrogance and a lot of ignorance said, I'm going to fix this damn thing. If I had known everything I know about India today, I would have probably never tried. So ignorance is a great asset. I came home and told my wife that I'm going to spend next 10 years fixing India's telephones. Had no idea of what it means. Finally, I met with Mrs. Gandhi, Indira Gandhi, when she was Prime Minister, and gave her a presentation saying IT and telecom would change the face of this country. And we need new strategy based on rural telecom, accessibility, indigenous development, building human capacity, digital network. And she gave us green signal to go ahead, launch our own internal program. We built an institution called C-Dot. That's when I met Rekha for the first time. We worked together there. And then Mrs. Gandhi died, and Rajiv Gandhi became Prime Minister. He and I were just about same age, so we clicked. With his political will, backing and support, we decided to use technology for the benefit of large number of people. So we built telecom institutions. I remember in early days of mobile licensing, I was chairman of Telecom, and American companies were pushing for analog system. I stuck to my guns and I said, I'm not going to do that. There were a lot of articles in the paper saying Sam Pitroda is blocking mobile telephony in India. We waited till GSM standards were created. People don't remember a lot of these things. We trained large number of people in IT and telecom. I remember an incident where we got a telephone call from President Reagan. I was with Rajiv Gandhi, And the call said that we will not get supercomputer because India would use it for nuclear research. And Rajiv said, what do we do, Sam? Not knowing enough, I said, we will build our own. And he said, what would it cost? $36 million, 400 people. He said, go do it. Next morning, we all met with the Scientific Advisory Council. We set up a group called CDAC, Center for Development of Advanced Computing, in Pune. And we built our own parallel processor supercomputer called Param in 3 years. Those were very exciting days where we decided to use technology in a very different way. We launched technology missions related to water, immunization, literacy, edible oil, telecom, and milk production. Today, when people talk about eradicating polio, everyone wants to take credit, including Bill Gates Foundation. But let me tell you, polio got eradicated because Rajiv Gandhi agreed to spend 300 crores, then 300 million, to build our own plant to produce polio vaccine. Nobody remembers all these things. So technology has been the key driver in India's development. We recognize the benefit of it. We believe a lot can be done with it. But we really need to focus on the bottom of the economic pyramid, which require us to focus on affordability, scalability, and sustainability. For the last 30 years, I have been saying that the best brains in the world are busy solving problems of the rich, who really don't have problems to solve. And as a result, problems of the poor don't get the right kind of talent. It is not about poor as the market. It is more about using technology to improve their income. How do we use technology to give them more money? I'll give you 3 simple examples. As part of the National Innovation Council, we had a program to innovate for the poor. So what do? We said, let's look at 3 cases in the country and see what we can do to improve their standard of living. We first focus on mango. We found that shelf life of mango was 7 days. And all mango growers would send their mango by air to Middle East. So we put a group of scientists together and said, increase shelf life of this mango to 30 days. Believe me, in 6 months, scientists came back and said, we know how to do it. So when we increased life of the mango to 30 days, all of a sudden they could get markets in Europe and send it by sea. Their income doubled. All proven. That is the real use of technology for the bottom of the pyramid. We went to brass workers in Moradabad. 500,000 people work on brass. And we learned that their furnace had not been redesigned for 75 years. So we put a bunch of professors from IIT, asked them to design the furnace. They redesigned their furnace. Productivity went up by 50%. Lung diseases went down. We learned that they use little boys to polish brass. And they spend half an hour every day polishing one piece of big article. We again went to scientific lab and said, can you design a liquid that you can wipe as opposed to polish? Wait for 6 months and you get a liquid that you can wipe brass. So children can go to school now and don't have to come home and spend hours wiping brass. This is the real meaning of technology for the poor. It is not about giving them more gadgets. They have no money to buy gadgets. How do you really improve productivity, efficiency, so that they can improve their income? I worked in India for 10 years with Rajiv Gandhi. Then I had a heart attack, quadruple bypass. Rajiv Gandhi died. I ran out of money, and I came back to US. But by then I had given up my nationality. I was Indian citizen. I had no visa to come back. I came as a tourist, restarted my life. And then when Manmohan Singh became Prime Minister, I decided to go back again and worked on National Knowledge Commission, where we focused on 5 aspects of knowledge: access to knowledge, knowledge concepts, knowledge creation, knowledge applications, knowledge services. We had 27 different subjects, from school education to libraries to broadband networks to higher education, medical education. We spent about 5 years in putting together a blueprint for knowledge for India. It's all online. But it has been very difficult to execute because it requires consensus. It requires systems to change. It requires Ministry of Education to think differently. And we have not been able to execute on many of those ideas. But we did build National Knowledge Network to connect all our universities, all our libraries, all our R&D institutions with 1,500 nodes, 4 gigabit bandwidth to connect all our knowledge institutions, all done, working today. When a friend of mine from Harvard, Michael, what's his name? He's a professor of law and justice, came to India. He and I addressed 500,000 students from one location, connected at 100 universities. On each campus, there were 500 people in the auditorium. All of this is possible today because of high tech. When I started, we had 2 million telephones in India. It used to take 10 years to get telephone connection. Today, we have 1 billion phones. We have $150 billion worth of software export every year, year after year. Credit goes to a lot of Indian entrepreneurs, young talent, little bit of policy interventions, government support. And this is really fueling new hope in India today. Now, in the back of IT, you have pharmaceutical industry, you have auto industry, auto parts. Lot of transformation is going on at various levels. We do recognize that knowledge is the key going forward. So as part of the Knowledge Commission, we also recommended skill development as the key to building human resource. So we set up a national skill development mission headed by former CEO of TCS, Ramadorai. And we need to really train 100 million people in skills like carpenter, plumber, electrician, welder. For every welder to be trained, we needed a welding machine. So we decided to put welding training on software. TCS built a software tool so you can learn how to weld on desktop or laptop. It's an amazing little demo if you look at it. You can train yourself to weld without ever going to a welding machine. It works, and we are using trainers today. That is the kind of innovation we need for the poor. Then we focused on innovation. Prime Minister announced decade 2010, 2020 as the decade of innovation. We set up a National Innovation Council, state-level innovation councils to really make innovation more of a priority at various levels. But remember, building a company is very different from building a nation. Building a nation is very complicated. Don't use all your techniques to build a company, to build a nation. Doesn't work that way. So we realized that building innovation is going to be a long-haul effort. All we can do is really sensitize people at various levels. As part of that, we looked at e-governance. E-governance effort has been going on in India ever since Rajiv Gandhi became Prime Minister. We set up National Informatics Center, where today we have about 4,000 software people. We add to that about 6,000 private industry, and we have 10,000 software guys today working in the government for e-governance. A lot of our e-governance effort is based on vertical silos, because all our government departments are vertical. With cloud computing, open source software, low-cost terminals, social networks, we realized that we need new platforms to redo e-governance. So we started with UID. My colleague Nandan Nilekani built a base for billion UID in less than 7 years. Remarkable job. We built infrastructure for national GIS, because in India everybody has their own map. Water department has their map, revenue department has their map, power department has their map, and telecom department, for example. And none of these maps match. So we spent 3 years developing consensus on building national GIS. Third platform was applications. Applications for police, prison, courts, income tax, passport, driver's license, and all of that. Data centers. In the US, we have over 1,200 data centers in the government. We built 4 data centers because we were far ahead in terms of timing. We have a data center in Delhi, Pune, Bhubaneswar, Hyderabad, and then one for each state. We have million miles of optical fiber already in place. We are adding to that another 500,000 kilometers to connect 250,000 local governments to optical fiber. All of this is going on today, but these things take time. For example, we have all the software we need to computerize courts, but judges don't want to do it because they will have to change. They want computers, they want video conference, they want fiber optics link, but they still want their manual system because you can fudge it. This is the problem today we find in e-governance. Technology is there, but the mindset is not there. I say this many times that we have 19th century mindset, 20th century processes, and 21st century needs. A lot of our processes were left behind by British Raj. We have complicated it, and now we are computerizing it. We need complete re-engineering of all our processes. How do you get birth certificate? How do you get land record? How do you apply for admission in school? All of these things need to be redone. But we don't have guts to begin that. So at the end of the day, India needs administrative reforms on a big scale, and we need judiciary reforms on a big scale. We have 32 million court cases pending today. It takes 10 years to get justice. We have all the technology in place to do it. But there is no political will to do it because the governments really cannot develop consensus on many of these issues. Technology is one piece of the puzzle. The political will is another big piece of the puzzle. And we are stuck in many ways in really trying to develop consensus on some of these big ideas. IT is not the only technology that we need. We need biotech, nanotech, materials, alternate energy. The lesson we learned in Telecom regarding distributed architecture, sort of privatization, liberalization, all of those lessons are equally important to energy, power sector. We don't have distributed architecture in power sector. We need microgrids. We need solar plants. We cannot have coal-based new plants anymore. A lot of these answers are known. Again, how do you develop consensus to shift your priorities? Work is going on at great pace in many areas, but these things take decades and decades to get done. I'll give you one example. I started working with Apollo and others on developing standards for electronic health record. Took us 4 years. Finally, we got electronic health record standardized. We have portal for the health. Took another 4 years. We have electronic health network built as part of a national knowledge network and virtual network. Unfortunately, people just don't know. So when you talk to somebody about India, you start from scratch. They have no idea of what is going on, but everybody is an expert. And I have a lot of conversation with my friends here. They have a lot of good ideas, but a lot of work that already has been done is really not in public domain. Though it is in public domain, people don't read. Go look at the document on National Knowledge Commission. It's all on the web. And you will know what we plan to do in education. But how do we get it done on a lot of these things? I believe India offers great hope. India offers great hope not only in IT and telecom and software, but also in energy, housing, food. Agriculture requires more technology today than ever before. If we are growing at 7 or 8%, we can't have our agriculture grow at 2 or 3%. We got to have our agriculture also grow at 7 or 8%. It's possible. But very little effort has been put into agricultural technology because it's not sexy. So when we talk about technology, people automatically assume microprocessor, software, satellite, fiber optics. They don't think of technology required for agriculture. You know, we have this program to clean India. Everybody talks about cleaning India. I did a little study. To clean India, we need close to $100 billion. $100 billion. Nobody talks about that because no one has really mapped it out. So you see picture of actors using broom on the street as part of a campaign to clean India. That's not how you clean India. Lot of technology is required to clean India, improve quality of air, improve our roads, power plants. I think there is going to be enough excitement for next 50 years in India. I see great hopes because of two things. One, technological possibilities. IT, energy, biotech, nanotech, materials, you name it. Everything is today so exciting in terms of what can be done. You have alternative models for generational change and not incremental change. And two, young talent. I find there is huge amount of young talent in India. You just have to turn them loose. I have yet to see a little kid read instruction manual, but they know how to operate smartphones. They know how to change channels on TV. Many times I goof up and I can't turn on my TV anymore. So I call little kid from the neighbor and he comes in and he just fixes it up right away. They have these intuitive feelings as to how technology works. An Indian kid is not any different. We try to find the best hacker in India. We interviewed several people. This was about 5 years ago. And we found the best hacker in India was a 15-year-old kid from Bihar, whose father was a government peon. So we called him to Delhi. And we asked him, I said, how did you get into this? And the guy says, I just learned this. So we said, look, we want to hire you. How much salary? He said 3,000 rupees, because that's all he could think. So when we told him that you could probably make 3 lakh rupees a month, he almost flipped. He said, I haven't finished my school. I said, don't finish it. If you finish it, you're finished. But that is the world we need to focus on. A poorest of the poor can be the brightest of the brightest. Don't assume that only rich kids going to great schools and private schools and paying $10,000 tuition are smarter. Today's technology offers our young kids in India to dream and dream big. I am very bullish on India, but I'm getting old. My time is over here as well as to work in India. So I would say thank you again and really appreciate this opportunity. Thank you, Rekha.
Thank you, Sam. It's never, you never stop to inspire people, whichever generation. So you touched on so many different important topics today, pretty much touched upon all of the new world and how they relate to the old world. From the past 35 years, you've seen technology in India evolve. And in recent times, there's the whole spectrum of technology has escalated significantly. Leaders such as Paul Jacobs are betting big on India. So when you look at the adoption of these technologies and how what this market will have to offer, what stands out for you as a single biggest risk or hurdle?
I think this question was asked earlier at the earlier panel also. I think basically we need to change mindset in the government. All governments all over the world are designed for command and control. And I think all governments will have to recognize their role is being minimized. You need to let it go. For example, who decided it should take 4 years to get a degree? Why is everyone taking 4 years to get a degree? It takes 4 years in India, 4 years in China, 4 years in America, 4 years in Brazil. Whosoever came up with the idea sold it pretty well. It's time to question that. Okay? Why does it take $150,000 to get an MBA? Pardon me. I think it's about time to question that. So our mindset is locked up. I just did a book on my life. I've given a copy to Rekha. It's called Dreaming Big. I had to write it for my granddaughter. Because even in my family, nobody knows what I do. They know that I go to India on and off and come back and do something. So he fixed phones. So I had to write a book so that my granddaughter someday will grow up and will say, who was this old man who came to America 70 years ago? What did he do? Why did he do all these things? And the story her father will tell is going to be very different from the story I want to tell. Because her father was born here. He looks at things very differently. So when I tell my son about the childhood I had, they all think it is bunkum. It's gossip, never happened. They cannot imagine. Now I forgot the question we had. What was the question? Huh? No, there was an interesting question. I got off track.
I was asking about the biggest challenge.
Biggest challenge. Sorry about that. Okay. So now I know the link. Okay. So the second book that I'm doing is about redesigning the world. I think the world we have designed after World War II, led by US, which says World Bank, IMF, NATO, WIPO, WTO, UN, GDP, GNP, per capita income, balance of payment, doesn't work. It's obsolete. 70 years of that design. It's time to say, hey guys, this design is gone. Don't work. We need a new design. And this is the challenge everywhere, not just in India. It's a challenge in America, it's a challenge in EU, it's a challenge in China, because we are all searching for new solutions based on old design. We want to fix the world based on GDP, GNP, per capita income, balance of payment, foreign exchange reserve, all this stuff. Don't work. We need new economics. How do you justify value of some of these companies in $150 billion? Okay, whether it is Uber or something else. Old economics can't explain it. New economics, we don't know how to explain it. So I think the world needs to be redesigned. And this is the problem in India. India needs to be redesigned. You cannot have the old processes where UGC decides what course you should learn in college. Come on, give me a break. Because their customer is 16-year-old kid and the guy deciding is 70-year-old like me. He has no idea. That's a major challenge today.
So one quick question before I open it up to everybody else. So what intrigues me as far as India is concerned is the ability to understand technology. Of course, as Vishal said, emphasis on education is huge. But when you look at the educated population as opposed to the population that needs help, on the ground, agriculture, as you mentioned, is a huge area. You look at the front of, let's say, drones doing surveying, land surveying using drones, as opposed to the guy who supposedly the surveyor on the ground in a little village who carries his 60-pound, 70-pound chain and uses the chain and landmark stones to do his surveying in the old-fashioned way. So, there's a huge divide. On the one side, you have the acumen, the technology exists, ability to adopt that technology exists, but as you pointed out, willingness to change is one thing, but the other aspect of it is how rapidly can you bring that about, and how does those forces of the market change, and that's the key aspect of success and failure. And you touched on that a little bit, but when you look at adoption of technology where somebody's going to give you the money, give you the technology, why would they do that unless they see a market for it,
First of all, when you have billion people, you are bound to have 10 million smart ones. There's nothing you can do. So in India, you have 10 million smart ones. The problem is those 10 million want to move up the value chain. They don't want to remain in village. If you are a good educated guy from village, you want to go to a city. If you're successful in city, you want to go to capital. If you're successful in capital, you want to go to metropolitan areas. And then if you are very successful, you want to go abroad. So you need people to stay where they are to make a contribution. So villages bring children who are educated, but these children leave. You look at Punjab is a classical example. It ultimately boils down to the fact that best brains in the world are solving problems of the rich. When TCS, I used to say this to TCS, Infosys, and Wipros, that you are solving problems of Citibank and not State Bank of India. Because State Bank of India is not paying. This is the crisis. Why don't you solve the problems of the local people? Because he can't pay. Why doesn't e-governance get done earlier? Because e-governance doesn't pay well. So a best scientist working for NIC, PhD from IIT, I know several, for example, Dr. Garola, who spent 35 years with the government. He can go out and get a job for $250,000, but he decides to stay there and work for $1,500 a month. 1, 2, 5 don't help. You need hundreds of thousands of people doing this in villages. Then problems would be sorted out. You can't solve problems of Indian villages by sitting here. Believe me. We can think, it's a good idea. We can romance, but you got to be there. How many people want to go back and live there? That's the challenge, you know.
I know that we're coming up on lunch and we're running late. So one very, very important, I would not like to send you home without answering this question. The smart villages and smart cities, what Solomon Darwin is doing, great work, establishing processes for others to adopt. So there's recently there was a conference in Stanford, maybe 3 weeks ago, where one of our accomplished charter members from Silicon Valley, Mr. Sundar Kamath, who runs a company called Sanmina, did a presentation. You specifically addressed smart villages. Would you care to share in a couple of minutes what you've done and what your thoughts are on that? Please come on in.
Yeah, I think first of all, we all owe a great debt of gratitude to Sam Pitroda for all the things that he's done in India. He's prefaced what I'm going to say very well, because if we don't address the poor and the villages, there is no future. It's simple as that. Those of us who live in Silicon Valley are so engrossed with the next generation product, the next feature, announcing the next generation, because we're driven by investors and Wall Street. So a bunch of us got together about 2 years ago and decided to focus on the problem that we are talking about. Because when you look at the numbers, they're just staggering, right? There's over 1 billion people without power, 2 billion without access to toilets, 700 million without drinking water across the world. So these are massive problems which does not need any new invention of science and technology. We engineers and doctors and others can solve it. So we got together and we launched this program working with some NGOs. And the concept is to create this fully sustainable village in 4 areas, critical areas: healthcare, education, energy, and water and waste management, along with food. So we've got experts from India and from here, and the goal is to take affordable, innovative technologies, implement them in the village, and demonstrate a prototype, a set of villages, maybe 4 or 5, where this can be made to work, and get the youth in that village trained, take ownership of these technologies, so that we can create a rural economy and there is no pressure to migrate to the cities. So this is at a very high level. This is the concept of an ideal village or a smart village, and hopefully we can get advice from Sam later on. But I just want to point out that those who are interested in working in this, those who want to partner, those who want to work really with passion and heart, this is not about making money. There is a business model, of course. It has to come to sustain this program. But we've got a couple of governments, Odisha government, for example, and Karnataka and so on, that are very interested. And the goal is by June 2017, we want to have the first set of villages prototyped working with this model. And we'll have a conference at that time as well. But Thai is involved, and please contact us for support. Partnership.
Thai will be doing a tech summit on smart villages pretty soon. How many questions do we have? Just kind of see some hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So we're running late by about half hour, so I'd say we will take 4 questions. So I can the gentleman right there.
Thank you very much for the enlightening speech. I have followed you all along. In fact, you mentioned Param. I was working at Sun Microsystem, and we followed very much your developments. In a very small way, I have also contributed, I believe, in bringing the first 64-bit processing system in India. ICICI had requested a license to buy the system, and there was a lot of problem. So the question is,
I beg your pardon. So please ask the
there
question and no
are
comments.
number of organizations, and this is the TIES initiative is also a good one. How we can be able to make more inroads into having entrepreneurs like various organizations to enter into India? Is there a forum? Is there your organization is doing something about it?
I don't have an organization. I used to work for the government. I don't work for government anymore. But you know, government has once a year program called Pravasi Bharati Divas, where you meet a lot of NRIs. That's one forum to go meet with. They have an office. I'm sure Consul General can tell you more about it. And then be part of CII, FICCI, All India Management Association, and you will get connected to the right people. There's just a lot of work in India. You can be busy in India for at least next 50 years. There is no lack of work there. Okay? You have to find it and go get it done. But don't blame everybody else saying that fellow didn't help me, that fellow didn't help me, that fellow is corrupt. That's given. Okay? Accept it as it is. Okay? If everything was ideal for you to go, we don't need you. We need you because it's not ideal. So never complain about the conditions in India. Garbage, confusion, chaos, noise, sound, smell, it's all great. Live it. Enjoy it. Go get it done against all the odds. Okay? If you don't want to do it, option is yours. Okay? Yes, sir. Good. Good luck.
So may I please request that there not be any statements, a quick question, and keep that short. And I would like to take that question over there from that gentleman. Third last question.
Thank you for your remarks, regarding innovation over the last several decades in India. I found it interesting. We're a new member to the Smart Cities Initiative providing housing solutions. I find it interesting that housing gets so little play when it comes to the connection between technology innovation and moving the needle for housing needs, not just in India, obviously, but globally. That the bottom of the pyramid is so far left behind, not just because of the inability to meet the cost, but obviously the training component necessary to bring the informal sector into the formal sector to obviously address these shortfalls. Can you comment a bit on that, and obviously the need for us to more readily collaborate with those technology industries that are being successful in this space to be able to utilize their success in this very important issue?
Housing, I assume you're talking about housing.
Yes.
Housing is a big, big challenge in India. We need 100 million homes. We have an agency which is responsible for housing. The last head I know was from IIT, very capable man. The problem is cost. We have not been able to reduce costs substantially to build 500 square feet of house. We have tried lots of new material, low-cost housing, bricks of different types, but the cost is still a major, major problem. Plus our housing standards and rules are not designed for low-cost housing. See, in India, we have Bureau of Indian Standard, but we do not have standards on window. We have standards on cheese. You'll be surprised. It's a fact. We have no standards on nail because you don't need it. That's the idea. In fact, what you need to do is create new standards for low-cost housing. But nobody pays attention. because it's for the poor. Okay. So housing is a big challenge. If we can reduce cost of per square feet construction, there's a huge market. No one has been able to break. I mean, there are experiments going on, prefab. There's some guy from Switzerland has just built a metal-based house, but that's not good for India because it heats up. So there are all kinds of issues. But that's the technology you need badly, more so than anything else. Yeah. Yep.
So I've been told that we just have one question, and I'll let the lady over there take that, please. Right there. Yes.
Sorry, could you critique the administration's new budget, which did focus extensively on agriculture and how far it will go to getting agriculture into that 7% growth that you discussed?
I'm really not qualified to comment on a budget. I'm not an economist. I don't know anything about it. Okay. But I would say India does need a lot more technology in agriculture. Throughout the food chain, from planting seeds to harvesting, to storage, to distribution, to all of that. Everywhere we just don't have the technology input. Okay. We haven't spent enough. We have a lot of agricultural laboratories, but very little comes out of those labs. We have CSIR, for example, not in agriculture, is an example. And a lot of patents come out of CSIR, but no products come out of CSIR. Yeah. So we have this problem with agricultural research as well. Yeah. So spending more money on that kind of R&D is not going to help us. Yeah.
Thank you, Sam. You're a true patriot of India and America. What a wonderful afternoon. Thank you very much.
Thank you.